World are the Charlotte Hornets doing? What are they doing? And I'm gonna be honest, y'all. For a good while until I'm prepped for this video that I'm recording and you're watching right now, hopefully. Well, if you're seeing this, you're definitely watching it because you wouldn't know that I would. Whatever. I was wondering what in the world are the Charlotte Hornets doing? You just had your best season in a few seasons. You were one game from making the NBA playoffs, and you're blowing up the spot, blowing up the squad. You got rid of two of your starters that were crucial to how good your season was last year. You got rid of two of them, including the best player in the LaMelo Ball, and you're kind of like, man, are we rebuilding? Are we retooling or what? And to be honest, I'll say this. I'm still not fully sold on the LaMelo Ball trade and I guess the Miles Bridges trade as well, even though I don't think Miles Bridges is as important to what the Hornets had going on. Good piece, but I believe that piece is very replaceable as far as what they had and what they were doing. But you look at what they got back. You look at what they have, like future assets that they have, like draft picks and other stuff like that. You look at how they even played LaMelo Ball last season and his usage and all that and how the other guys played. You can kind of understand how the Hornets made the decision to trade him. I think the issue that everybody has with the LaMelo Ball trade, if you sit down and you look at it, is really the timing. If this trade would have happened last summer, before the season that they had last season, nobody would have an issue as to what are the Hornets doing, because LaMelo Ball was in trade talks last year, and for a very good reason. You know, LaMelo Ball is a special talent. I think he's a really good basketball player, but the issue is he's not available. He's rarely available. This is the first time he's played 70 games since his second season. And over the 3 seasons prior to last year, he played a total of 105 games. I'm going to try to do some really quick math right here. 246 games. Out of 246 games, he played 105 of them. That is well below half. So I understand the idea of trading away this guy because he's making a decent bit of money off his rookie extension that he signed a few years ago, and he's not really on the floor. But the disconnect that I'm having with them, along with I believe most of you are having with the Hornets, is the fact that y'all just had the best season y'all had in a minute. And LaMelo Ball, to me, was a humongous reason for that. They don't get out the Miami Heat game without LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball went crazy that game. And then you look at the game when they lost by 30 points to the Magic, LaMelo Ball was the only source of offense that game. So you look at all that, you think, man, they're trading their best player, and they're going to put the ball in the Con Knipple and Brandon Miller's hands to, really be the new top guy in Charlotte? How is that going to work? But you look at the numbers, you look at the storylines and stuff coming into last season, and this trade makes sense for the Hornets. It is a high risk, high reward trade because the high risk is that LaMelo Ball is able to stay healthy and he becomes one of the best point guards in the league that we believe he can be, and him and Anthony Edwards go over there and do magical things in Minnesota. That's what I'm rooting for. I'm rooting for LaMelo Ball and Anthony Edwards to go crazy in Minnesota because that is what would be good for the basketball world and good for the NBA. But on the flip side, if LaMelo Ball goes to Minnesota and he ends up going back to his injury problems, you just got off of a very injury-prone, very expensive player, got back some key pieces in Naz Reid, who's a really good player, who's going to replace Miles Bridges, no problem, and you got back a 2033 unprotected first-round pick, which we don't know what's going to happen at that time. We don't know what's going to happen. So you look at all that, and you think, man, okay, this can go either way. What I want to do in this video, I want to talk about how this makes sense for the Hornets. So let's talk about LaMelo Ball first. LaMelo Ball, as I said, he barely played the 3 previous seasons before last season when he had a good season. But last year was his career low in minutes. He didn't lead the team in points. I think he was second in the team in points at 20.1. He had the lowest usage rate, I want to say, since his rookie season or since his second season. And he was LaMelo Ball. He was great. He was eccentric. He had his crazy moments, but they kind of, held the leash, not to put it in them terms, but they kind of did not give him as much leeway as he's had in previous years. We even saw LaMelo Ball come off the bench a couple times last season. There was no way in the world that LaMelo Ball would have come off the bench before last season, but I think they've done all that. They did all that to try to keep him healthy for an eventual deal. Because, like I said, coming into last season, LaMelo Ball was in trade talks. When LaMelo Ball got put on the bench last season, we would think, okay, LaMelo Ball must be finna get dealt. And they're trying to keep him healthy so he does not diminish his value. But they end up going on a crazy, magical run, almost making the playoffs, and then now things have kind of changed in all of our minds. But in their minds, it's like, okay, we kind of like what we got here. So let's talk about what the Hornets are going to look like without LaMelo Ball. And you think about LaMelo Ball, he is the engine. He was the engine for the Charlotte Hornets. He was the guy that scored, he passed, he ran the offense. He had so much connectivity to every single body on the floor, all the shooters, all the lob threats, all the cutters, and he raised the floor of that team. We can all agree on that because he is very, very good at orchestrating the offense, whether it's scoring or passing. He's a chucker, but he can pass that rock as well. But as I said, last year was one of the lowest usage years that he's had over the course of his career. So they've kind of moved, in a sense, away from LaMelo Ball to playing a more team ball. The highest usage rate on the team was Brandon Miller, who also led the team in scoring. You got Colin Kaepernick, who was your top 5 pick in the last draft, had a crazy, historic rookie season. You bring in a Kobe White, who Kobe White actually had the highest usage rate for the time that he played in Charlotte. Now, I know it wasn't the same sample size as the other guys, but ever since in the 21 games that he played, he had the highest usage rate at 34. So you're relying on all those guys. You bring in a Christian Anderson from the draft from Texas Tech. You're relying on all those guys to mimic and recreate and make up for what you're losing in trading away LaMelo Ball. And I think that's very, very possible. Now you do not have a de facto. You don't got a de facto, this is the guy that's going to run the offense every single time. You don't got that. Because you got a bunch of guys that you believe are capable of doing that job, of making up the playmaking production of LaMelo Ball. And I think you look at the piece they got, very possible. Very possible. I think a lot of pressure is going to fall onto Brandon Miller. Brandon Miller's going to make a jump to a star level this season. I believe that. He averaged 20.2 points last season. That probably needs to go up to like 25, 26 points per game next season if they want to still be a good team. You got Kobe White. Kobe White is one of the guys that we believe as fans, as consumers of the NBA, we believe that Kobe White is a guy that if he has that opportunity, when he run the show, he goes crazy. Ask them Chicago Bulls fans that watch Kobe White in April and March when he's just going stupid. So now they sign him back for a 3-year, $74 million deal. They're looking at him to be that de facto point guard, to be that main guy. He's gonna step into the LaMelo Ball role. So I'm interested to see what happens with that. We also got to talk about this Miles Bridges trade, because Miles Bridges was traded away for 2 guys that are going to help replace the 3-point shooting volume of LaMelo Ball. Grayson Allen and Royce O'Neal. Royce O'Neal coming off probably his best season of his career. He upped his 3-point shooting volume to about 7 threes a game, and he kept the same 3-point percentage at 40%, which is very difficult. It's difficult to shoot more shots and still shoot just as good. And you add that to the Hornets team, that's what they needed. Grayson Allen. We know Grayson Allen is a really good 3-point shooter. Last season for the Suns, he actually played a lot more on the basketball than he's done in his whole career. Last year he had a career high in assists. It was only like 3.84, some little under 4 assists per game, so it's not too much. But this was the highest usage rate he's had over the course of his career. And I keep bringing up usage rate, because the thing about the Hornets is the fact that, like, you think, like, okay, it's LaMelo Ball with a bunch of shooters. But no, these guys are all creators. They are able to make their own looks. They're able to get their own shots. They're able to run pick and rolls. They're able to get shots for others. They're able to do that. And if you're going to get rid of a LaMelo Ball that was responsible for all that, you got to bring in guys that can supplement what he did. And Grayson Allen had a down shooting year last year, but he showed with the Suns that he can still be a kind of secondary alternative playmaker. He ran a bunch of pick and roll for the Suns last season. A bunch of them. The most in his career, and that's actually insane because I never thought he would do that. Going back to his Duke days, he played a lot. He played a lot of point guard at Duke his last couple seasons at Duke, so he's definitely capable. But so I look at that, and then not to mention from the Miles Bridges trade, they got another 2033 unprotected first round pick from the Suns, and this is from the Suns. The Suns in 2033, the Suns and the T-Wolves, we don't know what they're gonna look like in 2033. I'm a Hawks fan. I'm hoping by 2033, Anthony Edwards is in Atlanta. That's my hope. That's what I want. You know what I'm saying? But 2033 for the Suns, your best player, Devin Booker, gonna be like 36, 37 years old, if he's still even on the team. So there's a potential shot that in 2033, the Hornets are gonna have 2 unprotected lottery picks. There's a reality. They could mess around 2 unprotected top 5 picks. That's the reality of the situation. So you think about all the teams that are really good right now. You look at the Spurs, the Thunder. You know what I'm saying? The Celtics, even though they're older now, but how were they created? They were created from these trades where teams traded away draft picks for further down the line. The Thunder are still getting picks from that Paul George trade. The Spurs are getting picks from that from that DeJounte Murray trade. And we're seeing the Hornets do it again. They got 2 unprotected first-round picks in 2033, along with their own that they're going to have at that time unless they move it. Crazy. That's insane. You know what I'm saying? So, a lot going on. A lot going on for sure. I think Charlotte Hornets also saved a lot of money. They're going to save a lot of money moving off of, Miles Bridges. Well, actually, I believe Miles Bridges has an expiring deal. But moving over Miles Bridges, they don't got to pay him. They move on LaMelo Ball, who we talked about has a pretty decent little contract, and they bring in guys that are going to be a lot more cheaper. The guys that they have coming in, the guys that they have on the team, I believe are capable of replicating what LaMelo Ball did by himself. And I'm going to be honest, y'all. I look at what the Hornets are doing, and the way my mind works is I think about the Hawks and the Trae Young trade from last season. The Trae Young trade from last season was them banking on Jalen Johnson and not Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Dyson Daniels, C.J. McCollum, all those guys replicating and being a team engine rather than a singular engine in Trae Young. And they were able to do that. They traded away Trae Young and did not have a real point guard and led the league in assists, or were second in the league in assists, because everybody was able to put the ball on the ground and get a shot for themselves or for somebody else. You look at the pieces over in Charlotte, they have the ability to do that as well. They can do that as well. So I think they looked at what the Hawks did and said, okay, we got off of a guy that's very costly, and in their case, LaMelo Ball, you're playing a game of hoping he stays healthy. So I can understand the trade. I'm just trying to put my mind where their mind could possibly be. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's definitely possible that the Charlotte Hornets win this trade, but there's a lot of risk and a lot of reward for these moves. You know what I'm saying? We just got to see what ultimately happens. I think it's going to be very, very important to see how the Hornets come out the gate next year. I want to see how they come out the gate next year, but the thing is, with 2027, they have 3 first-round picks as well, or they could have 3 first-round picks as well. So even if they are not good, they're going to load up in the draft. They have the Dallas Mavericks pick, which is protected between 1 and 2. I don't see them getting the first or second pick next year, but you never know with the league. They have their own first-round pick, and they also have, I think they have Detroit's first-round pick is lottery protected. So there's a potential shot that they have 3 first-round picks next season. So the Charlotte Hornets, like I said, I'm not too big on the timing. I think the timing is off. Coming off of a season where you almost made the playoffs for the first time in a long time. And you kind of move off your best player and you move off another starter in Miles Bridges, and now you're kind of in question mark mode. You don't know what the team's going to look like next year. You don't know how you're going to be on the court next year. So we'll see what happens. But that's all I got for you, man. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share with y'all folks, man. Free agency starts tomorrow. Super excited for that. We're going to have all kinds of free agency videos breaking down what's happening. But until next time, go over to. We out of here. Yeah.